Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of remote collars, or shock collars as people will call these devices, and aggression. Okay, when again using these devices, it triggers a aggressive moment with a dog. And again, this is where you see dogs that will try to fight through these collars, these devices. You see the back legs kicking, and they're really upset. Okay, aggression kicking off. Now here's the thing. Okay, I talk about influence, okay, being necessary once a dog has already gained control in the relationship. A intentional interaction based approach. Okay, again, interacting with dogs in a very specific way, with influence being part of it. Okay, which changes perceptions of dogs the right way. Now, again, I talk about lining this stuff up, the role of devices. Okay, this is where, again, I talk about the source of the problem in the dog training world by way of learning. Okay, using treats, following a path of bribery. I talk about bribery in terms of what it represents to the dog. Okay, once a dog has already gained a level of control in the relationship, once you're already dealing with behavioral issues, it's about how the dog currently perceives you. Okay, dogs are social animals. And again, understand, I take this over to the parenting example because I'm going to apply this example to help people understand why remote collars will trigger dogs this way in terms of relationship. Okay, again, in terms of, again, I talk about the source of the problem. It's no different, again, dealing with an already selfish child. Once a child's already hit that point of being selfish and a bad attitude, and based on your parenting style, your attitude about discipline, okay, punishment, all those things, based on your parenting style, more permissive, okay, causation, okay, you'll see how this stuff lines up. You'll walk this back and connect this to the parenting style. It's depth of relationship, okay, how that impacts a child, okay. And so, but again, understand here, and again, when I talk about influence being a necessary agent, okay, and here's the thing, and it making sense to the dog. Okay, this is the thing. We'll get into this whole thing about these moments that happen. People wonder what is going on. Why is this dog stressed? I'm using this collar, I'm pushing this button, and the dog is being aggressive and really just lashing out, and major problems, right? And this is why, again, you wonder why these devices are getting banned, because when you look at the process I'm talking about, the superficial way in which trainers are engaging a relationship problem, then you line up these devices, it's not reconciled. Okay, it doesn't make sense to the dog. The dog's going to fight through it because the dog's saying, you know what, I'm still in control. Okay, and you're going from, basically, I want to look at this, going from 0 to 100, and not just 100 on the collar. Okay, it means that influence, the role of influence, isn't lining up. And this is why. Okay, you go watch that video we did on the Larry Crone seminar. Not that, again, honestly, I'm not focused on trainers that way, but the video with this dog that is lunging out, and and then when influence is happening, right? And again, this all goes in this thing about what trainers are focused on. When they decide, right, to bring influence online, and this is where you get this defining influence by way of corrections. But the thing is, again, talk about the themes of being proactive. Okay, really think about this, because this will make a lot of sense. And your starting point, okay, understand that getting a sense as to where you're really standing or how you're perceived in the relationship, and moving forward from there. Okay, switching parenting styles, but doing it in a way that makes sense, but the role of influence itself is reconciled. Okay, this is why I talk about how I use those devices. If I'm using a remote collar for the crate, okay, understand what's already online. Okay, these interactions are online already. Okay, so already things are lining up because influence is now an active component, and the perception of dogs are already changing at a certain level, right? So the dog is making the connections right from the individual. Dogs as pack animals, and it's like changing your parenting style. And so when you do bring that device online, typically you can stay down in the range of just a vibration level, right? But then even if you're using, you need to use the shock setting, typically it's going to be at a lower level. It's for, when you hit dogs at that tipping point and say they're getting their mouth into that crate, going to break a tooth off, then you can use the shock. Okay, but they're going to be agreeable to that. It's going to make more sense, and they're not going to fight through it. Okay, because everything else makes sense. Do you understand? It's about how this connects. It's about relationship, and take this over to the parenting example, because I use that example a lot to help people understand the problems here. But when you start to consider what I'm saying, it all makes sense. Okay, start to connect some dots here. So think about the parent who's in a permissive parenting style. Now here's the thing: is I'm careful when I say permissive parent. It doesn't mean that if you're struggling with your dog in a relationship, doesn't necessarily mean that you're a permissive parent. Sometimes this is just a choice. People get more emotional because of of relationship that way with dogs. So, but again, it lines up. Okay, our how we connect, our emotions, all those things play a tremendous role in terms of behavioral problems. Now, again, with the parenting example, consider the already selfish child, right? And already hit the tipping point, and then the parent is in a permissive parenting style. And how you want to see the reaction to a remote collar, in terms of the role of influence, like parental influence, would be light bulb comes on, my child's selfish, but then you're going from 0 to 100 in the sense of you're just going in, your kid's on the video game system, and you're just going in and you're just yanking that out of the wall, right? And you're involved in a confrontation, conflict, because it's not lining up. It's just going to that level, that way. There's no kind of laying foundation, right? Or starting to keep things leveled out and starting to transition over. But again, fully commit, okay? I talk about this whole duality thing between balanced trainers by way of permissive and authoritative, right? And the problems with that open door effect for dogs still to hold control. But again, understand it's like going in and yanking the video game system out, and you're gonna have a fight, okay? Because again, it's about things making sense. Doesn't mean you're gonna sit down necessarily and this is the other thing, and empower the child by I'm gonna have this conversation and make it all about choices. No, you have to be engaged. You got to assert influence, right? All those themes, right? But it's about how you're doing it, about making sense, because making sense means agreeableness, but agreeableness the right way. Understand these trainers that use bribery follow the path of bribery because they go the other direction, right? And so agreeableness, but totally upside down. Agreeableness within a moment, but the relationship isn't getting better because the dog's still holding control, gaining comfort, fulfillment through gaining control that way. Look at certain concepts such as counter condition. I keep bringing that up. But again, by this issue about remote collars, it's about making sense. Understand that when you see stress loads on these dogs, because you see these dogs because the individual isn't being proactive. You see the role of influence, how I'm nudging and how I'm asserting influence at certain times when the dog is investing. I'm dialed in, so it makes sense to the dog, okay? Because I'm doing the same thing all the time, right? I understand why I need to do what I'm doing based again on the dog's current perception level, okay? Just like everything's a supply source. You see the dog, that's why a dog holding a high level of control, you'll see them just moving from one supply to the other. Pay attention, you'll see it, okay? Now again, this is all to say that remote collars have a place, but they're being removed and banned because of the confusion, because all these trainers, it's not making sense to the dog, and then the optics of that, right? Confusion, and then finding the working level means that because you're aligned with a superficial process and influence isn't lining up, and then your working level's got to be at the highest level, and then the dog's fighting through it and you're having all these moments. Well, there you go. Okay, so again, I encourage you, if you want to sort through this, is check out my videos. I have lots of content out there. I show how things line up. Yes, influence is absolutely 100% needed, okay, in the process, but through an interaction-based approach, it's how it lines up, making sense to the dog, okay? So, and again, and understand, when people look at my videos and say, oh, Dale's a force-free trainer, he's a compulsion trainer, you're already done, okay? You're already on that side anyway. Forget it, okay? Forget it. You got to step back from this stuff. See, this is the problem. People don't know where that line is. And so it's about, again, it making sense. You see how I'm doing training. Influence is absolutely, just like parental influence. You have to be able to apply critical thinking and filter everything through differently, okay? The dog training world's in a mess for a reason. These devices are being banned for a reason, and balanced dog trainers can't stop them for a reason. It's all symptomatic. So I encourage you to check out my website. Lots of great information. Thanks for watching.